So they just announced they're doing this animated special for Sonic Racing Crossroads, and it looks immaculate. I figured I'd at least throw it in the video so that things aren't too outdated. But holy shit, it looks incredible. It looks like it's clearly from the guys who made Shadow Gens. I think we know it's going to be one episode, which I called this. I've been telling you guys for a long time. They're not going to go a game without doing this. But for me, like, I look at it, and you even had Thomas from Twitter, one of the guys, Justin Thomas, working on it, saying that, like, if it's not like Redline, don't make it at all, you know. So it's gonna look insane. Whatever they do, like, oh my god, I'm so excited. But I figured I'd at least talk about it and throw this into the video as a little bit, so that not all the comments are like, why aren't you talking about this? Why aren't you talking about this? So fuck yeah. Yo, call me a Sonic, opening the way I'm opening Sonic opening. Hey everybody, what's up? Welcome back to the Games Cage. Today, and only today, we are here to talk about something, you know, that's come up, and that is the importance of Sonic game openings. Obviously, if you enjoy this kind of content, please consider subscribing to your boy on twitch.tv/GamesCage. That's right, I am recording from a hotel room because the grind never stops, you know, wherever I am in this world. So this comes hot off the heels, this discussion though, comes right off the heels of them officially revealing the Sonic Racing Crossroads opening CG animation. Now, we had technically seen this before because of, you know, off-screen footage from Summer Games Fest, and even the audio was pre-recorded, but the intro came out today, right? And been a lot of, you know, conversations going on about the song. I'll let you listen to about, you know, like 10 seconds of it just so you get the vibe of it.
Sonic racing all around the world, stabbing heaven, make your tires burn, go into
Brain broke. And yeah, so a lot of people, you know, just criticizing, you know, oh, it's cheesy. And some people be like, I love that it's cheesy. Some people be like, I hate that it's cheesy. And obviously, you know, the song choice, in my opinion, if you want like the Fidel take on it, I think it's okay. Like, I think it's a pretty aight intro. I think because, here's my thing. I think because it's a spin-off, I am much more like lenient and cool on it being a silly opening, as opposed to like if this was the song for like the next Sonic racing game, the Sonic mainline game. You know, if this was Sonic Frontiers 2 and he was like, he's rolling around and he's going so fast and he's rolling down the hill, you know, and obviously like Sonic songs have always been kind of cheesy. That's like a part of the nature to it. But there's something about this one that's definitely more like for kids. Like, now granted, that's not a bad thing. Like I said, when I hear this in opening, I think of a 4Kids intro. Right. You know, like very much like it's Sonic Racing, going on a fence, and so it's super cheesy in that sense. But I do think though some people are losing the sight that like the visuals for this are super fucking good. I mean, like the intro is a full CG opening. You get like this cool cut in the beginning with this like yellow and white aesthetic that's really good. And you have the racers, you know, racing towards the star. You have all the chaos where all the characters are dying. Like, it's super fun and memorable in that sense. It's unfortunate it doesn't have like the crossover characters, but it's pretty cool for like a Sonic characters only intro. But this got me thinking, you know, because we've ranked them before, but I feel like it's different than us talking about like the importance of them, right? So I wanted to just talk about, like, for me, I think regardless, you know, I think it is important to have these unique openings for Sonic, whether it's CG or animated or whatever. It just feels right for this series. And honestly, when a game doesn't have one, it kind of feels wrong. You know, I think of the most two recent 3D games, Sonic Forces and Sonic Frontiers, both not having some like animated intro, both just having like a cutscene. It's weird, you know, not animated or not CG. It's odd because like even a game like Lost World, you know, for as like whatever as that game could be, it has a CG opening, and that shit kind of hits. Now, there's two types of CG openings. There's ones that are like, you know, basically a music AMV like song, kind of like how Sonic Superstars is, right, where you have like a song, you know, and gets you ready for the game, right, versus like something like, you know, an Unleashed opening, which is like the opening is a CG thing for the game, you know what I mean? So I feel like those are two very different tiers of CG opening. But I think, right, it is super important to know that, to me, I still think that it is the most right that a Sonic game has one, right? What's always stood out, especially about, you know, Sonic more than other platforming series, are these like unique intros. You know, when you played Crash Bandicoot back in the day, you just get the start of the game, right? When you play a Mario game, it just kind of starts. But with Sonic, there was always that like feeling that like you're kicking off a journey, like you think of obviously, ever since Live and Learn, Open Your Heart, right? From Sonic Adventure 1, you felt like this grand sense of like, oh shit, like this is like, you're kicking me off, you're getting me excited, bro. It's basically like a music video you get before everything. It's fucking cool. You get something like that, and like that forever sticks with you, right? You get the Sonic Adventure 2 one, right, where they're both, running. You have Shadow sliding. You get the moonshot that, to this day is recreated, right? Like, even within these openings, you can get like some iconic shots and moments. And this continued for a long time. Like, you think of Sonic Heroes has a CG opening. Now, do I like the song for Sonic Heroes? That's debatable. A lot of people in general debate whether they like the Sonic Heroes song. I've always been like, see, here's my little bit of hot take. I feel like Sonic Heroes for me is definitely on that line of this Sonic Racing Crossroads opening, where it's like, Sonic Heroes. Like, that's a little bit too on the nose when we're like repeating the name of the game, right? It's like, I get it, obviously Crush 40 elevates the vocals, for sure, but like that's that level of cheese where I'm like, okay, like this is like apparent cheesy versus like background cheesy. Like a Live and Learn is cheesy, but it's like raw, or like Open Your Heart is raw, but when it's like, here's the title of the game, right, it can come off a little bit less cool. But anyways, you got a Heroes opening, which, continued along the series. Then you had Shadow the Hedgehog, like Shadow had one. Sonic 06 is when they start having them as CG openings, right? So like instead of it being, a music video effectively to kick off the game, the excitement, they started doing the CG cutscene openings, which now look, under perfect world, you get both, right? You get a crazy intro and then you get a crazy CG thing, but I get it, we live in a different time back then where like at this point, like from 06 and forward, where like CG became a more expensive thing, I'm sure the team figures are, all right, well, we got to make a choice. We're either debuting the game with a beautiful CG thing, or, this is the opening cutscene, we make it CG and grandiose. Like I said, I kind of don't mind either or. I think, though, that it stands out a lot more for a Sonic game to start with one of these. Now, if I were to choose, let me know in the comments section below, what would you choose? Would you rather like a opening, kind of like an Open Your Heart, or, a Live and Learn one, or something like, Sonic Heroes, right? Or would you prefer the more cutscene ones a la 06 opening cutscene, or even Unleash opening cutscene? Like, those felt like spectacles. I mean, I felt like those are like the pinnacle. Like, funny enough, 06 and my brain's very Unleash are like the pinnacle of a CG opening. Obviously, to this day, we still hear and talk about, the Sonic Unleashed opening, right? One of the best, I would say one of the best video game openings, period, right? In terms of at least like a CG opening, like it looks gorgeous, it stands out. Like, that's what makes me sit down and think like, shit, man, if like the next Sonic game kind of started like this, it would be raw. I get why a lot of companies shy away from that nowadays, because the whole idea is that graphics are so advanced, like the game should look like that. And obviously that's the hope. I hope we get to the point where like we're there, but we're not there yet. And even then, even if we were, I still think there's a difference between, like, companies do this thing where they feel like, we don't need a CG opening, games look beautiful, but I'm like, it's not the same. With a CG opening, you have like a director. Obviously video games have directors, but like, it's different. Like, you can mess with the camera angles a bit more. You can do different things with the movements. Like, it's a difference. It's a difference between a movie and like in-game models, where you can only do so much with those models. Obviously, depending on how good the developer you are, you can do a lot with those models. But I think you know what I mean. I think there's a different cadence to how like scenes are directed when they are, a full budgeted CG opening. But regardless, we've gotten them continuously, down the line. There's, been some entries here and there, like your Sonic Rush Adventures or not, but like, I think of, it's funny going from the Unleash opening to then getting the Sonic Colors opening that goes back to a music video stunt. And man, the Sonic Colors opening, one of my favorite openings of all time. We Reach for the Stars has always been one of my favorite songs, but like, that's a beautiful cheesy for me, but it's like, it's important to me, and like that it's a reminder that shit is important, because when I think of like Frontiers, which is one of my favorite games ever, when I boot it up right after a long time, there's nothing I'm excited about booting it up for. I'm excited to play the game, and play the levels, right? But I don't have that moment where like, oh man, I'm gonna open the game, this beautiful intro is gonna play. Like, you get, Tails flying into a portal, right? Which is not the same thing, as opening it to something crazy, which is weird enough because Sonic Frontiers actually has actually has CG recordings that they did. They have CG for the Showdown trailer, for the launch trailer. Like, that shit is fucking awesome. I love the CG that they had for Frontiers. I almost wish it was in the game, because they even had CG for like some of the trailers that they would tease. Like, they still teetered the line of having it, and I think they're aware of that. I think Kishimoto actually addressed it when he was going on that spree where he was answering stuff about Sonic Frontiers. Like, I think he was saying that, like, yeah, I understand that fans want the CG back, so hopefully. And then like, even for Sonic Frontiers The Final Horizon, they even had a trailer where the trailer for it was in CG, so it felt like they were spending a lot of their budget on the trailers, which is kind of like what Sakurai does with Smash, where like Sakurai's like, well, all right, I don't want these cutscenes in the game, but at least if I'm going to spend a budget on them, I'm going to make them on like a cool trailer, which again, I'm sure a lot of developers feel that way. And then after that, you think of a game like Sonic Generations, where like, it has a CG opening, but it's kind of like really short and like a little bit lazy, right? You get something like that. I'm trying to think. Then after that, you get Lost World, which has one. It counts as an opening CG cutscene. It's definitely the least exciting of them all, because it's kind of just like, we're in the sky for like 2 minutes and then like that's it. But again, you can sort of see like, that's like I feel like from Generations to down, you see it go downwards, slowly and slowly. Like, Forces doesn't even have one. Obviously, Frontiers doesn't have one. But the 2D games, they kept it, like obviously, well, Sonic 4 didn't have one, but like, you think of Mania, right? The Mania opening is chef's kiss to this day, one of the best video game openings ever. It's gorgeously animated. It feels like it celebrates series, and again, it's important. It's something that you always associate with Mania. If anything, it's something that goes beyond Mania. So many people have seen that opening without having played the game. Like, it's a special opening, with the music playing by Hyper Potions. Like, it's incredible, right? And then even Superstars, for as like, mixed on my emotions, that could be for that opening. I know that opening has a bit of a budget issue because like TMS animated it. It's not the craziest looking thing, but I'm happy it's there. It's cool. It's like a little visual identity that I can at least have for it. But again, it stands out when you like skimp out a little bit on how high profile it be. But it's cool when we get it. I mean, Sonic and the Black Knight most notoriously has not notoriously, like in a cool way, has like an incredibly cool opening CG movie, right? With Sonic falling down the sky, and the Knights of the Round Table and seeing all that shit. Like, that shit is fucking awesome, right? And then Secret Rings doesn't have one. You're like, okay. So, I mean, I guess, no, Secret Rings does kind of have it. It's weird. Secret Rings kind of plays like it's like before the game starts, but it's technically like the cutscene for like the end game. It's weird. It's a weird way that they do it in that game. But regardless, right, these are things that matter ultimately to the fans, to us, right? Like, we think about our favorite Sonic openings. You sit down and you say, oh, I adore the Unleashed one, I adore the Mania one, I adore Adventure, right? And even, like I said, the spin-offs, you think of like Sonic Racing All-Stars, right, on the Wii, and then All-Stars Racing Transfer, both have CG openings, right? It's like, even these spin-off games that are different from the mainline ones, but are still like main spin-offs, like, even they feel that important need. I mean, you even think of like the Mario and Sonic Olympic Games, right? Some of the best openings we've had from Marta Studio. Marta Studio doing incredible work, right, with the CG. They're the ones animating all this, and man, like, it felt so special. If anything, like, those openings for the Mario and Sonic Olympic Games are probably more memorable than a lot of the games themselves, let's be frankly honest, right? And then when they skip out on the budget, right? Because there was a point where the Mario and Sonic Olympic Games were like, they just stopped fucking caring. Like, the 2021 like is using in-game models, the Rio one is using in-game models. Like, you're like, all right, man, we're skimping out a little bit here. There's a Wii U one where it uses the in-game models. You're like, all right, man, like, now we're being a little bit lazy, right? And so you see a little bit of that laziness, between, I would say, like 2014 to 2017, I guess, even to this day, right? Again, like, they're still a little bit weird about how they're doing it, but my hopes and prayers are that, like, all right, Mania's gotten one, Superstars has gotten one, even, I guess you could argue Sonic Origins kind of has one, right? Technically, yeah, I would say Sonic Origins counts as having one. So that was one, now it's about the 3D games continuing that tradition. Because again, we haven't had one in a 3D game since Lost World. So, and how old is Lost World? Is that over a decade now? Jesus Christ. And so I do hope that Sonic Team sort of takes that feedback and adds that in, because it's something that, again, like I said, like I understand the graphics matter, right? But there's something so special about that identity, And that's why even for a game like Frontiers, like those CG trailers stood out a bunch, because you're like, oh shit, like this is that energy I miss, Like I said, there's a unique kind of direction. Also, Marta Planet is such an incredibly talented studio that Sega owns. I mean, that is one of the golden geese that Sega owns, and I think it's just about giving them the money, because those guys understand Sonic like no one else. I mean, shit, people don't understand it, but like Marta helps on the movies too. Like they help on pretty much everything in that department. Marta's a super talented studio, and I hope one day they get to even make their own Sonic movie. But yeah, all this to say, I don't know. The new Sonic Race at Crossroads opening, like obviously I loved it, but it made me feel good. It made me feel good to be like, all right, man, even if this song that's playing in it is a little cheesy, right? It makes it a little bit memorable. It's something that, when you're gonna open the game, you're gonna let it play sometimes, or you're gonna let it play after you haven't played in a while. It's like a little bit of an identity that I feel like is important to have. That again, like a lot of platformers don't get that grace. Mega Man doesn't start with these CG openings, Mario doesn't, right? Crash doesn't, like really none. I mean, I guess you could argue only other one I can think of is like Ratchet and Clank that does start with them, but even then those games are so gorgeous now that you don't need to, which says more about the quality of those games than anything. But yeah, that's all I kind of wanted to ramble about, just talk about the importance of why we should have opening movies for Sonic games, and it's wrong when we don't have them. So guys, thank y'all for watching. Let me know what you guys all think, and of course I will see you all next time. Hopefully next video I'll be at my house, but for now, enjoy some Hotel Scuffness. Peace out.